Hello, welcome to I Read This Book with Chris. With me, Chris. Today is a bunch of books I have not read. Today is yet another book haul. While I am showing you these books that I've gotten, I will be drinking eggnog. I don't know if it's the season yet. It definitely does not feel like the season, but for whatever reason, eggnog seems to show up early now, and then it disappears. So if you want to buy it a few days before Christmas, usually it's all gone. I have to buy it early. So, cheers. I have a interesting collection of books for you guys from all sorts of different places. Some are from bookstore, one's from a bookstore that's a couple hours away from here. Other ones are ones I just stumbled across. Where should I start? I'll start over here. This is The Prehistory of the Far Side. The Far Side is pretty great by Gary Larson. He does a lot of those one panel comics that you may be familiar with. With just a punchline. Sometimes there's no punchline, sometimes there's just a title. I'm trying to build up my collection of cartoons. I used to read mainly just these old cartoons, which I have the complete, these back up here. I have the complete collection of Calvin and Hobbes and Foxtrot. The Far Side was one that I also enjoyed, although not as interesting because you can't just sit there reading for hours and hours as you can Calvin and Hobbes. Buck Rogers. I got this at the local bookstore. I believe the price was $12. It's in pretty good condition. It has an introduction by Ray Bradbury. The art is really cool. So if you'll remember, a few videos back, I talked about Buck Rogers and how my father read to me Buck Rogers as a kid. Now, I had never read any of the cartoons, but I was a big fan. So now I have the collected works, Buck Rogers in the 25th century. So that'll be interesting to get into. We'll see if it's any good. If it's not good, it'll look good on my shelf. And if it is good, well, I have the entire collected works, so it's pretty exciting. It is a strange little pile. I have a couple of philosophy books. Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Nietzsche, and Existentialism from Dostoevsky to Sartre. Once again, trying to get into philosophy. So this one might be a good one to get into. Basic writings, never before translated, from all sorts of different people. It's a bunch of different essays and whatever. And one of the guys that I worked with had read this, and apparently it's one of his more readable. A lot of Nietzsche is not readable, from what I've been told. This one is readable. They are both introduced by Walter Kaufmann. I don't know who this Kaufman is. Apparently some philosophy guy. But they are both beautiful old paperbacks, which I love. 6 great modern plays. Arthur Miller wrote Death of a Salesman, which is one of my favorite plays ever. Then it has Tennessee Williams, George Bernard Shaw, Sean O'Casey, Henrik Ibsen, and Anton Chekhov. Only person I've ever read anything by is Arthur Miller, but as far as I know, these are all great modern plays. And I enjoy reading plays. They're rather short. We'll see about that. This one here is very interesting. The 7% Solution, being a reprint of the reminiscences of John H. Watson, MD, as edited by Nicholas Meyer. So this is a Sherlock Holmes, one of the further adventures of Sherlock Holmes by someone who is not Sherlock Holmes. I have You can't see it. A shelf that's just Sherlock Holmes. Over here, I'm currently working through. This is volume 1 of the complete Sherlock Holmes. I want to make sure I read all of them. But that's what I'm currently in the middle of. And I have, what is that, about 12 other books that are Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain, so other people have written him. But I really enjoy Sherlock Holmes. It's weird. I'm not a big fan of murder mysteries. But the murder mysteries that are sort of based off Sherlock Holmes I enjoy. A lot of the modern movies I like. I have several of the older movies. Every one of them I've liked as well. The TV show Psych is very Sherlock Holmes-esque. Definitely based off that. You have the strange detective and his more normal sidekick. Also, TV show Monk. Same thing. Also, House MD, same thing. Those are 3 of my favorite TV shows. There's also Sherlock Holmes TV shows. Anyway, big fan of Sherlock Holmes. So the 7% solution, we'll see. It'll definitely be part of my collection. Alrighty, here's a good looking cover. Police Your Planet by Lester Del Rey and Eric Van Lin. If you go back to my previous haul video, remember Lester Del Rey is a crazy guy who wrote a lot of sci-fi. A gripping novel of the space frontier. Bruce Gordon was an ex-fighter, ex-gambler, ex-cop, ex-reporter, and now he was an ex-patriot of Earth, an expat. Security shipped him to Mars with a knife, 100 credits, and a yellow card that meant no return. He was also, he told himself, an ex-do-gooder. From then on, he would take care of number 1. Yeah. Starlight, the great short fiction of Alfred Bester. Alfred Bester is a guy who was not prolific, but he was one of the greats when it comes to sci-fi. If you have not read him, pick him up. Don't know much about this, except it's a collection of his short stories. Yeah. Ultimate Frankenstein. New stories with some of the world's leading authors, including Brian Aldiss, Kurt Vonnegut, and Lauren D. Estelman. Just a science fiction collection. This is one I'm going to read by the end of the month, hopefully. It's my goal to read this one. You know, spooky season, Halloween season coming up. Not a whole lot to say about that. Let's see. Here are 2 books that I found at a bookstore. So this was 33 cents each. Count to a Trillion and The Judge of Ages, both by John C. Wright. Count to a Trillion. So it has Spider Robinson, who I've read one of his books before, a major figure in the recent renaissance of the space opera. Let's see. Hundreds of years in the future after the collapse of the Western world, young Menelaus Elation Montrose grows up in what was once Texas as a gunslinging duelist for hire. But Montrose is also a mathematical genius and a romantic who dreams of the future in which humanity rises from the ashes to take its place among the stars. I don't know anything about this or about this guy, but they looked interesting, modern, pretty exciting. Alrighty, now for the exciting stuff. This is a double feature. So, The Star Pit by Samuel R. Delany. I've heard of him, don't remember much about him. And then Jean Varley, Tango Charlie and Foxtrot Romeo. Stranded in Space. You know I'm a fan of these double features. Let's see, one of them is 100 pages. Other one is 82, which I think is a great length for stories, and more stories should be in that length. Double feature, and then I have a collection of books about time travel. The Saraband of Lost Time, their quest was for peace in a future beyond the apocalypse. Basically, all I know about this is the people of Earth whispered the name in fear, the Overmind, the powerful entity which could reactivate the dreaded machines of long ago before the Great Last War. War had changed the planet in a strange and terrible ways, but one thing had not changed. War still went on. So they're trying to use time travel to get out of the Overmind's world control. The Quinix of Time by Jane Blush. The picture is a face that looks like there's some sort of, I don't know whether or not it's an atom bomb or some sort of bacterial growth, like on a, whatever it's called, one of those little circles that scientists use to grow bacteria. Kind of looks like that with then a head in front of it, and then the head has holes all around it. Very strange art. Who is J. Shelby Stevens? How does he get his information? These were the questions that the head of security had to answer before he could use his new communicator. Without the direct transmitter, man's expansion into the galaxy must stop. Unless Robin Weinbaum could find J. Shelby Stevens, the universe was closed. That's going to be a fun read. And then Pastimes by Poul Anderson. Poul Anderson wrote a crap ton. There's a guy, looks pretty buff, holding a rifle in a tunnel that is a time tunnel, I guess. Wormhole. And there's a really ugly dinosaur and cactuses. So, this is the collection of books I've gotten since I've last told you about all the books I've gotten. It's quite a bit. So, if any of these books look exciting, look like something I should read, tell me. I'll see if I can read it and make you a video about it. Otherwise, I'll just read random crap. Probably should just be reading random crap. Currently in the middle of a book by Lester Del Rey, which is some pretty random crap. Alrighty. Get your eggnog. Cheers.